Today, for the first time, images shown to the court in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial made public. Prosecutors releasing these exhibits. Pictures of Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, with what she says are bruises on her back and legs, as well as a gash above her eye. During her more than 20 hours on the stand, Ventura testifying that these injuries occurred during alleged assaults in 2013 and 2016. Also released today, these pictures from when Diddy was arrested at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York in September of last year. A special agent with Homeland Security testifying last week that the items found included bottles of baby oil and drugs including pink packets of ketamine. Meanwhile, on the stand, singer Dawn Richard offering dramatic and at times tense testimony about the years she spent working for Combs. Richard describing an incident in 2009 when she allegedly saw Diddy assault his then-girlfriend Cassie, testifying the next day she received a call from Diddy with a warning. Richard testifying, quote, "He said you could go missing, that we could die," going on to say, "I was shocked, but also scared." Combs is charged with 5 counts, including sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution, and faces up to life behind bars. He has denied all of the allegations against him. Combs discovering Richard on his hit MTV reality show, Making the Band 3. Signing her to the hit girl group Danity Kane. And then later the group Diddy Dirty Money. Diddy's defense team saying Richard's retelling of events has been inconsistent. When challenged today by Combs' attorney Nicole Westmoreland, as time progresses, your story changes. To which Richard responded, yes, adding that it's been difficult to remember these alleged incidents because she's, quote, tried to erase those memories. Combs' lawyer also arguing that Richard filed a civil suit against Combs in 2024, shortly after Ventura went public with her own accusations, saying that Richard only wanted money. But Richard saying it was about justice. Today's testimony wrapping up with a former friend of Ventura and a former personal assistant of Diddy.
And Chloe Melas joins us now from just outside that Manhattan courthouse where everything is playing out inside. Chloe, day 1 of week 2, you have been in and out of that courtroom since the very beginning. We have already heard dramatic testimony and seen these pictures from the prosecution. What do we expect to happen this week?
So we expect to also have Combs' assistant take the stand once again, a personal chef who once worked for Combs, who is going to talk about a violent night and potentially other violent incidents. We could even hear from Cassie Ventura's mother this week, barring that she doesn't go into labor. And again, the prosecution, they have 6 weeks worth of witnesses.
Chloe Melas, thank you. And NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now with more. All right, Danny, a lot of new evidence today, right, petering out, including photos that we have from the prosecution. Walk us through this new evidence and what has stood out to you so far.
Well, stood out is a relative term. Standing out in terms of making out the elements of the government's case, it's going to be things like drugs, just like it is things like violence, because those are key to some of the charges here. But stands out in a way that has very little to do with the government's elements of their case, baby oil. Baby oil is one of those pieces of evidence that the government is very good at. They find a sticky, and I'm using that term figuratively, a sticky piece of evidence that jurors will hook onto. A good example is the gold bars in the Menendez case, for example. This is the kind of stuff that jurors remember. They understand it, and they put it in front of them in picture form, and it's something that they remember when they go to the jury room. Does it have a whole lot to do with the elements of the crimes charged? Not really, but that doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's that kind of evidence that's more compelling than the evidence of the actual elements.
So talk to us about what we heard from some of the witnesses on the stand today, because we heard that former Danity Kane member, Dawn Richard, testify that she saw Diddy allegedly assaulting Cassie back in 2009. When we're thinking about the charges that he is facing and the 5 counts that prosecutors are trying to prove here, how does a story like that, seemingly witnessing a singular act of violence, actually play into the case and what prosecutors are trying to say Diddy has done?
The recurring theme is violence, 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 not because Diddy's been charged with a crime of violence, so to speak. He's not charged with assault. He's not charged with rape. But the violence goes toward coercion. That's one of the elements of the sex trafficking charges. And why is that important? Because coercion requires the fear or threat of something like violence. Consider some of the other evidence today. Ventura apparently told James, Diddy's assistant, that she felt like she couldn't leave because she depended on Combs for everything. That sure feels like coercion, but it may not be coercion as it's defined in the sex trafficking law. So the elements are always key, and the violence really goes to the issue of coercion for sex trafficking, which is arguably the government's strongest charge. It carries the most severe penalties.
Okay, so thus far, do you think prosecutors have been effective at trying to prove that?
Yes, and the government, traditionally, federal prosecutors engage in what we defense attorneys call overkill. They shove a lot of evidence. So you're not just going to get one or two witnesses talking about violence. You're going to get a lot, and there are more to come. People that work for him, prostitutes, escorts, and you're going to hear all of these elements. They're going to sound redundant at some point, but the government does that because they don't like to lose, and they want to overprove every element of their case.
All right, NBC's Danny Zavalos, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.